Hello, everybody, and welcome back to part 2 of Pod Jerky's television reviews. And on today's episode, again, I am joined by Amy, aka Mrs. Awesome. And we are going to be doing 4 shows today. I know on the last episode, Amy was a little bit surprised that we were doing a 4th one, but the 4th one, she'll know exactly what we're talking about anyway. So today we're going to be talking about the show Clickbait. We're going to be talking about Flight Attendant. We're going to be talking about Good Girls, and we are going to be talking about Tiger King season 2. So that was the 4th one that we did. That you slept through a couple of episodes there, but there's a lot to talk about, a lot to cover on that season 2 of the episodes. So which one do you want to start with? Do you want to start with Clickbait?
Sure.
All right. So Clickbait. It was funny because I never even heard of Clickbait, and a friend at school had recommended the show to me. I had no idea who was in this show. Adrian Grenier was in it, and we had just finished watching Entourage for the first time, which is funny because it's
like we're only 10 years late.
Really 10 years later that we had started watching it, but I never had any interest in watching it when it began. We started watching Entourage and we blasted through all 8 seasons, and it was phenomenal. I loved Entourage. Great show. So we saw that Adrian Grenier was in this, and we decided, okay, you know what? Let's give it a try. So this was basically based on just a family man was married with a couple of kids, and somehow he ends up in this whole twist of online dating and having dating profiles. And then it turns out that he was kidnapped.
I feel like I was going to say, I feel like you missed the plot there, dear.
No, and then he turns out that he is kidnapped, and a whole video was put up online, and it goes viral that if it hits 5 million views, that whoever did the kidnapping was going to kill Adrian Grenier's character. His name is Nick. I can't remember what his name. Nick Brewer was his name. But he would end up dead if it hit 5 million views. We have no idea why, no idea who did it. And so that was the whole series on trying to figure out who did it. Now, it was interesting the way the series played out, because each episode they would focus on a different character. So they would focus on his sister, Pia. They would focus on his wife. They focused on one of his colleagues.
It was like the point of view of what was happening plus the history of the character.
Right. So
interesting.
So the story would mesh, because you would see, okay, they would still cross with the other characters, but they were telling it from their point of view. So the entire series, you would see, okay, it was they were talking about the neighbor, or they were talking about the colleague at work, or they were talking about the wife, or whatever it was. And I found the series to be entertaining throughout the entire series until we hit the finale. And the finale just ruined it all for me. I didn't get it. I didn't understand why they went that way. It was just ridiculous, I think. So
it felt like lazy writing. Like they couldn't think
how to end it.
To insult the writers. Because it probably felt really good when they did it. It didn't feel like it fit with
the
story. Like it just.
So I figured it out.
All these little tidbits of like, oh, and so they showed it in the finale. But then you're thinking to yourself, I did not see or feel that at all throughout the first 5 episodes. I think it was
right. So I think that the one good thing that came out of it was that I had it figured out and pegged right from the beginning. I was like, I know who did it. This is who did it. There's no way it didn't happen this way. And then the finale kind of did a twist and said, okay, it was this character. Now, the character I believe that it was the colleague. It made like so much sense that he goes through, and I think he had issues with some of the students there. There was some sexual harassment.
Predator.
Right. And then it just looked like he was a good guy to begin with. And then, it just, you kind of got this feeling, okay, he had something.
I think we would have been more satisfied had it been him.
Right. So we'll go, into the ending of it where, up to, I think it was 8 episodes as well. I think the 7th episode whatever it was, the episode prior to the finale, I kind of looked at it and I was like, this is really good. Like, this is an excellent series so far. It's kept me engaged. It's kept me entertained. It keeps you thinking.
Drops a little bomb at the end of each episode to make you want to watch the next one.
Right.
Like, as far as how it was produced and written was good.
Right. And then we come up to
the whole thing.
The finale, and it turns out that it's an admin staff from the school that he works at. Yeah. Her name is Dawn, and
his
she's
admin assistant.
Stuff. Yeah. And she's a little time character. Like, she doesn't get a lot of play throughout the entire series. No, I know you're trying to swerve people here, but with that character being there, it was just strange. So then in the final episode, they finally go into her story where they're saying, okay, you know, she went onto his computer and she saw something, and then, you know, she started this dating profile using his photos, and then started talking to like these girls online, and then he finds out about it, so he goes over to her place to question her about it, right? And then this is where the husband finds out as well. I'm probably missing here, so
I don't know that he found out until he got there, to be honest with you, because if you remember in the middle, you kind of figure out, like, they let him go, the kidnappers, right? So
right.
He ends up talking his way out of the kidnapping, and so you know he's not been killed by the people who kidnapped him. And I think because he didn't have a car or a phone, a wallet, keys, nothing, based on where he was, he went to her house for sort of refuge to kind of like clean up and all this other stuff. And then I think that's where he starts to find out about stuff.
And then the husband ends up killing him. He ends up, I think, hitting him with a hammer in the head, and just putting a whole end to this whole thing. And the whole story behind the wife killing him, like his admin assistant, Dawn, was that she did it out of boredom and not getting enough attention from her husband. And it was like, this is the most ludicrous story ending that could have been. It made no sense. So she created the
profile, because in fact he had actually created a profile. So the first woman that you find out about, he actually had a relationship with. I don't know if they ever actually met, but they actually had like an internet relationship, and then she found out about it and took that and built all these profiles on all these dating websites, and was having just like messenger exchanges, email exchanges with all of these women, basically creating relationships. So she wasn't feeling lonely anymore. And that's how it came to be. And so,
it just
didn't fit the rest of the story. Like,
no. It just didn't make sense to me of why they went in that direction. Reading some of the reviews online, a lot of people had agreed with me. Again, the series
could have just finished so many other ways. Like, one of these crazy women could have found out about it and
could have been the wife, could have been the sister, because the sister was the one that was leading the investigation.
Could have been one of the kids. There was just so many ways it could have gone.
And they just went in some totally weird direction. And it didn't make sense to me. For me, up until the second last episode, I'd give it a 4 out of 5. Like, the series was very entertaining. I'm going to drop it a number just because of the finale, a 3 out of 5. I do recommend the series just because of moving up until that finale. When you find out, I don't know. I just shook my head.
It had so much promise until the finale. Like, I think of all the storylines they created throughout the entire series, you could have the whodunit could have been so many other people, and it would have made way more sense. You may not have liked the whodunit, like, let's face it, the whodunit, this one made the least amount of sense.
Yeah, definitely. And again, here we are with our episodes that we're watching seem to be all whodunits, right? So there's a lot of undoing, and the ones that we talked about in the last episodes, 9 Perfect Strangers. Now we're talking about clickbait, and now we're going to get into the next one, which is Flight Attendant, and it's another whodunit.
Same thing.
So I mean, the last 4 that we've reviewed right here, 2 on this one, 2 on the previous episode, have been whodunit episodes. So I think we have a little bit of a theme going on with the series
This
that we're
and
watching.
serial killers apparently are our genres of choice.
We like to watch serial killers on Netflix. That's our search history, apparently, and that's what always recommends to us because we watch so many of them. I'm sure everybody's out there like that. That's out there watching Netflix watches these. I think
there's actually like T-shirts that people made through COVID that actually said my series of choices, serial killers and coffee, or something like that. Like, it's apparently a thing. We're not alone. We're not the only weirdos out there.
No. So yeah, like I said, we're going to get into Flight Attendant, which ended up being 9 episodes. And we're going to say Penny was the main character on this episode, on this show. You can't forget about her. She was Penny on The Big Bang Theory. So it was kind of weird to see her in a different role just because she kind of had that typecast character she played on, like, I think it was 8 Simple Rules. Like
the Girl Next Door kind of thing.
The Simple Rules show she played on. She played on Big Bang Theory. So there was, a little bit of a disconnect for me to see Penny playing a dramatic role because it was just weird for me to see. But
it only took a couple episodes to get over it, though.
Yeah, it did. Yeah,
this character is the exact opposite of Penny, so it only took about 2 episodes.
You know what? It's not really. People were making the comparison of Penny and Cassandra was her name in the show as Cassandra Bowden. So the comparisons were alcoholic, which she did like to drink on The Big Bang Theory. Promiscuous. She was promiscuous in The Flight Attendant, and she was kind of promiscuous before Leonard in The Big Bang Theory. So they kind of made that comparison that it was the same character as this. This one wasn't a comedic role. This was more of a dramatic role. So there was some comparisons to the Penny character as well.
But you could say that about a lot of people.
You can, yeah. But this is what I'm talking about for this episode. So this series. So anyway, she plays Cassandra Bowden. She is a flight attendant. She has a bit of an alcohol problem, like we mentioned.
She likes to party.
She does. And so they were in a layover. I think it was Bangkok that they were in Thailand. And she woke up one morning and there was a dead body in her bed laying beside her. Of course, this freaks her out. She doesn't know what to do. So she ends up not calling the police. She ends up leaving the hotel room and not calling anybody about it.
Going and catching her flight.
Going and catching her flight. Then the FBI gets involved. Once the FBI gets involved, she starts to believe that she did it. She can't figure out what happened. She doesn't remember what happened. She was hungover. She has no idea what happened. And then we kick off the series on trying to find out what happened.
Yeah.
She ends up having visions throughout this whole series of the guy that was laying in the bed. He starts, I guess, talking to her in her visions. It's a little bit of weird, video there. And then she hears his voice as well. We go through the whole series of her, like, I guess, having a struggle within herself. Like, she has flashbacks from her childhood. She just can't let go of. Right. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't remember what happened at the end of the series again. You have to refresh my memory here.
I got to be honest. I can't even. So they figure out who did it, and it turns out to be like the typical, like, insert yourself into the investigation type thing. He did the same thing. So the guy that ends up doing it, he is hired for a reason. Like, and forgive me because it was a while ago that we watched it. I can't remember why he was hired to kill the guy, because he was. Because he was an elusive businessman, something like one of these deals gone wrong kind of things. And then she ends up dating him. The killer, but you don't know this because the guy comes off as like a total sweetheart, kind of her type of guy, looking for a casual good time. He seems more interested in her than she does in him. He becomes a little bit of like a sex buddy to her, but you can tell he's trying to get, more out of the relationship with her. And then as people are trying to starting to figure out what's happening through the rest of the series, She seems to be digging a bigger hole for herself with the cops, and then he's right there to kind of pick her up. And then she's kind of close to figuring it out. And it ends up being the guy she's been sleeping with through the entire series. And then she has all these like self-revelations about all of her past and sort of the turmoil between her and her brother's relationship, because he's the good, responsible one. She's the bad, irresponsible one.
And she plays kind of like a tortured soul, right? Like she, again, with all these visions and stuff. Now, at the end of the episode or the series, we find out that she's now an FBI informant, or she's working with the police or something to that effect, where they leave it open to have another season if they wanted to. I think the series was pretty good. Didn't expect a lot from, I don't even know how to say her name. His name, Kaylee Cuoco, or however you say it.
I don't know how to pronounce her last name.
Penny. Her name's Penny. But I thought she gave a decent performance, not, Oscar worthy, of course, not award worthy.
She won an Emmy, I think.
Did she win an Emmy?
I want to say she won an award for her role in that.
So I would give it a 3.5 out of 5. The series was entertaining. But it wasn't, it wasn't great. But I mean, for what I was expecting from her, just watching her through Big Bang Theory, I think she did a pretty good job. I don't know what I was expecting, and that's not to say that she doesn't have the skill to act. It's just from what we were used to watching her on a sitcom, and that's unfortunately what happens with some actors, is that they get typecast as certain characters, and that's all they get stuck in playing. And when they go to play another character, whether it's comedic or whether it's a dramatic character, you just can't get past seeing them as whatever character they were playing before. So I gave that series a 3.5 out of 5. What about you?
That's rough.
Why is that rough? That's still a good. That's still a
critic.
That's still a 70%. That's a good number.
I feel like you are far harder on shows than I am.
Well, you live in this different little bubble. So you went you went half a point above me. Half a point.
Listen, I find it really, really tough to give anything 5 stars, because what I will say is nothing's perfect. And some of these series have episodes that are like, meh, they're entertaining, but if you never watched it again or it never finished, you wouldn't really care. But I don't know that I'd only give it 3.5.
Okay, I'll give it a 3.75.
Oh geez.
3.75.
Quarter point.
Anyway,
brutal.
That's my rating on that, and we're gonna move on to the next show.
I'm shocked we could watch any TV together, to be honest with you, after today.
No, it's I don't think I'm hard. 70% is not a bad number. That's actually a really good number.
You haven't liked anything.
I had 3.5. What's 70%? 70% is a good number.
It's a B.
So you have to rate all these shows an A. Come on. Anyways, let's move on. Let's move on to the next 5-star show that we're going to talk about here, and that is Good Girls. And
not 5 stars, that's for sure.
I got to give a shout out to new friend of the show, James Lejour. He is actually a guest on our show coming up in the new year, so stay tuned for that. He plays FBI agent Turner. He also plays Gibbs on Men at Work. He was a part of the show as well. We are reviewing the show right now, and really did enjoy having him on, so stay tuned for that in January. He has already been on the show. Actually, it's been recorded.
Little promo drop.
It is a promo drop, so stay tuned for that. Anyways, let's get into Good Girls. So Good Girls was a show that we actually were recommended to as well. Friends of ours had started watching it on television before I think it hit Netflix. It was on NBC or whatever channel it was on. They said you need to get into this show. So this show is...
I don't think it was available to us in Canada other than through Netflix.
Right. And I think our friends were watching it on...
Can we get
NBC.
it on... Oh, okay.
Doesn't really matter.
Either way.
We started watching the show. It is 4 seasons long. There's a lot of big stars in this show. You had Christina Hendricks in it. You had Reno Wilson in it. You had Retta in it. You had Mae Whitman in it. So there was a really good cast of characters. I really liked The villain of the show, Rio, he
I
played
think
a really
like
good character.
every girl had a little bit of a crush on the bad boy from that
Right.
one.
So I'm not a
He
girl,
was
and I didn't have a crush on him. I just think he did a pretty good job in his role of the show. Uh,
a
so
very
the
good
sh-
job.
so the show starts off. It's basically like three moms, three housewives, basically that
Need money.
need money. So they concoct this whole plan to rob the store that Mae Whitman's character is working at. What is Mae's character's name again?
Oh,
Who she who she plays in the episode there is so she works at a
grocery store.
grocery store, and they end up saying, okay, she knows how to get into the safe area, and then they'll just crack the safe. And Annie Marks is her name. She ends up getting into the safe, and they steal some money. Although I think they stole more than they were anticipating.
Well, they didn't realize that the grocery store was being used for money laundering.
Right. So they end up.
There was way more money in the safe. I think they anticipated I think that they had estimated like 30 grand was supposed to be in the safe. Because that was what the daily total I think typically was before deposit. And so they were figuring they would get away with, they're not going to call the cops or the FBI or anybody over like 30 grand. They'll just put it through insurance, I think was originally what they were thinking.
Right. And so they end up taking all the money out of there. And I think that's where we meet Rio as well, right? Like Rio was part of that whole money laundering with the grocery store there, right?
Yeah.
So Rio was played by Manny Montana, and I think he did a phenomenal job in his role. So these girls get wrapped up with Rio, and it turns out that he has them doing all these different little crimes, I guess, around the area. He starts them into doing some money laundering for them. Yeah. And cleaning his money. So they're going to the store, they're buying stuff, they're, exchanging stuff, then they're bringing it back and getting like actual money back through the cash register. So the money is all washed and he can take the money, and here we go. They were printing money. So then they end up printing money themselves as we go out throughout the whole series. And it just, to me, the only thing that bothered me is that these girls outsmarted the cops all the time, outsmarted Rio all the time. They had no like background, no criminal history, no,
they were good girls.
Yeah, they just, they just had no thought of doing evil at any time. Of course, Retta, Ruby Hill, they needed money because her daughter needed surgery. So that was her main goal of getting the money. Actually, all of them to get the money for that. But then it turned into more of a greed thing. And hey, we want more, we want more, we want more. And it just they always escaped. And I was like, how do they keep outsmarting people who are supposed to be smarter and one step ahead of everybody when they, were just some like small time crooks, and they just kept on winning.
Well, and you've never met a group of people who have more bad luck.
Right.
Like every episode it was you think they've got it solved, and then it's bad luck, and then it's every time you kind of turned around. So I would say the first two seasons were really well done because you really didn't know where it was going to go. And the first season was probably the most dramatic because it was you were really just kind of understanding what they were getting into. It was how they were going to figure out how to wash all this cash, how they were going to, because they ended up blowing a bunch of the money on stuff, so they couldn't pay him Rio back. And so then he basically takes them under his wing. And after that, it just seemed to kind of, like when you thought they could have wrapped it up, they found a new way to write it, but it essentially was just a twist on the first two seasons. So it kind of, I don't know, the last kind of two seasons of it kind of dragged on, and then COVID forced production changes. So then the stories kind of ended in weird spots.
Yeah, I think the last season was a little bit rushed, and I think that was due to COVID. The storyline got rushed to the end, where we were like, oh, this is not the ending that I saw coming, or how it was going to end, where Christina Hendricks, who plays Beth Boland, ends up taking over the whole enterprise of Rio.
Well, they didn't officially, so they didn't actually get to write a finale, right? Because they never got renewed. And so for those that have been watching it, you kind of just got left hanging. So you don't really know how any of them made out because it never got renewed, which is kind of a shame, because you feel like after you've invested all these seasons, you kind of just want to at least see a proper finale come so that you know how the characters tie up, and you don't get that with this one.
No, you don't. But I mean, the series overall, I think, was really good.
Are you only giving this one a 72?
Except for the last season. But it was funny when I had the conversation with James. He had mentioned, he played FBI agent Turner, and not to give away anything in the episode, but he just asked me, he's like, I like to think that, when my character was killed off, that the ratings went down. And I was like, absolutely. As soon as your character got killed, I was like, I'm done. I don't want to watch this anymore. They killed off Gibbs. I was like a little bit angry about that. But yeah, so that was pretty interesting. We had a little conversation with that about Good Girls. So we talk about that in that episode that's coming up in January. Again, plugging it right now. Don't forget to tune into that episode. It'll be airing in January. But this episode, or this series, I thought was really good. Again, here's our theme of 3.5 out of 5. But let me explain. I'm not giving it a 3 out of 5.
Okay, but what gives a series a 5 out of 5? We have to have that conversation.
Let me finish here. I'm not giving it a 3 out of 5 because I think the entire series was a 3 out of 5. I think because the last season kind of ruined the whole episode, like the whole series for me, because it felt so rushed. Otherwise, I think I would have given it a 4 out of 5 for this series if it wasn't so rushed and that we had a ending to it. That's why I'm giving it a 3.5. However, I understand that with COVID, the production kind of ran away from what they probably wanted to do. But for me, the ending kind of screwed it up for me, just as it did with Clickbait. Is a 3.5 for me. Otherwise, it would have been a 4 if they had a proper ending. That's my explanation to that.
So do we need to do like what everybody else did with Manifest, and like we need to go fight for the last season of production so that we can get a proper ending?
Manifest, I don't even want to talk about because that was
a terrible show.
I don't understand.
It has like a cult following.
I don't understand why people like that show. We made it through one
season.
Yeah, we made it through one season. I said, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. It was just the same thing over and over again with the kids seeing visions of this, and I was like, this makes no sense.
I got us off track, but
but
I was like, but if we want our ending, we got to do what they did with Manifest. We got to fight for like a 5th season so that we can
do like a Good Girls movie or like an hour episode where you can tie everything in together or something. I'd be good
with the 1 hour episode. That's I like it.
And then, I might bump my rating to a 4. I don't know. We'll have
4.5 even?
4.5 maybe. No, it was actually a really good series. I enjoyed watching it.
Yes, it was good.
I know there was a lot of people there that might have a different opinion, but hey, it's my opinion, and this is what I think about the show. We actually tuned in like every night. We were like, okay, we got to get into the next episode, and we would stay up sometimes a little bit later just because we're like, no, I'm not going to bed. I want to see what happens next. So
yes,
it was a good, entertaining episode. Kept us engaged, and we enjoyed it.
Stupid COVID goes and ruins a bunch of stuff.
It does. Yep. All right. And
Unfortunately, it took a toll on Good Girls.
What did you give that series?
I mean, I think I'm probably no better than you because you're giving everything a 3.5, and I'm giving everything a 4. So,
all right,
it's a 4 for me.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to the surprise series that we actually did a review on about a year ago, probably.
Yeah,
we did a Netflix review on Tiger King, the first season. We did not know that there was going to be a second season. We did see the second season come up, so we did end up watching it in 2 days, I guess. It's only 5 episodes. So they're about 45 minutes long, each one. However, this one is a lot more interesting than the first season, I think.
I agree.
Because it kind of focuses more on Dawn's disappearance more than it does on the actual yahoos that are running the zoos there.
I will also say, like, every episode, I think, except for because they covered Dawn, I think, in 2 episodes, but every episode kind of digs into the backstory of the people that sold Joe out, and sort of the how they how they got him incarcerated, where they are now, and sort of
they get into the
it kind of came full circle with this season on all the crap that they caused in season 1.
Well,
brought it all kind of full closure on everything that's happened over the last 2 years through COVID.
Which some of this makes me think, is this just written for TV? Because some of this stuff is just too convenient, because, you know, in the first season, you have everybody is against Joe, put Joe in jail, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden now, Jeff, who is the new owner of the zoo, who turns out to be like Carol Baskin, is now the owner of the zoo. And then the hitman turns out that, oh, I wasn't going to kill Carol Baskin, but I was going to kill Joe. This just makes for good dramatic TV, where it's like, okay, is this actually real stuff that's going down? And then you see the people behind it, where they're like, you know, get Joe out of jail and we need to free Joe. And this turned into a whole circus of just nonsense. And I was like,
planes, cars, banners, Trump rallies, like it was.
I don't know if this was just scripted stuff, and that like Joe
either way, highly entertaining.
It is entertaining.
It was highly entertaining.
But I don't even know if Joe's really in jail, to be honest with you, because, you know, they can, you can fake that anywhere. You can fake that anywhere. You can say, oh, Donald Trump, give him a pardon, blah, 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 you know, whatever it is. But this whole entire
because he is in jail for animal cruelty charges, right? That's how they ended up getting him, because
they didn't have enough on him. And frankly,
if it is true, I'm glad he's behind bars, because what he did was.
But if he's behind bars, then the other people should be behind bars too. This Jeff character.
But you got to remember that they framed him, and basically the law was like, do I get the worst of the worst, which they believe to be Joe, and then have an informant like Jeff that put him there.
But again, this all turns
deals with criminals all the time, right?
This turns out to be a whole government conspiracy thing now, where, you know, they say, hold on, where they say, okay, so the government wanted the government wanted Joe Exotic. So again, they offered deals to Jeff, they offered deals to the hitman, you know, whatever it is. They told them what to say. It's basically perjury throughout the entire court case for Joe. So they come back and they say, now everybody has recanted their story. So everybody that was involved in this recanted their story, and now is turning around, and now they're on Joe's side. So this is just like made for TV movie kind of nonsense. It's like, this stuff is really going on out there. I don't know. I don't want to live in that part of the world. It's really, really, really weird to me.
I will say that I think it was episode 2 and 3 where they covered Dawn's disappearance. Those were probably the 2 best episodes out of the 5, because they did not cover half that crap in the first series about Carol Baskin and her relationship with her husband. So the things you find out definitely cast doubt on things that were said in the first season.
I think
like those documentaries, right? It is one-sided. And the things that you learn about him specifically, because they cover much more about him this time around than they did the last time, because the last time was really about Carol. This time it's really about Dawn.
But he had some shady business, in the South, in South America, he had some shady business. They had his associates from down there on the documentary as well,
saying, his driver,
saying that he would have parties there with underage girls, and he would be sleeping with these underage girls. He was running a brothel
out of the house, and
he was laundering money over there. So
well, that's the perception. I don't know that they were saying that for sure, but the perception.
Well, he was bringing in. I don't know if you fell asleep during this episode, but he was bringing in boxes and boxes of money.
Share that with people.
So we already mentioned that earlier.
Just mean it.
Anyways, he was bringing in boxes of money on the plane, and he was getting it washed over there in South America. He was buying properties, and he was investing in different things, and he was opening casinos and whatever it was. So he was washing his money over there. So yes, he was laundering money. It was a proven fact through their statements, I guess. Not
apparently I slept through that part.
Yes, and
I was tired.
So there, it just leads me to believe that something happened down there. There's never been a body that's been found. There's never been, anything, but they never searched over there because they had no idea, I guess, what was going on over there. But now
it's apparently still an open investigation.
It is an open investigation. Now, the one thing that we discussed yesterday when we were watching this was the only thing that bothered me was Carol Baskin's, I guess, her
lack of concern.
Yeah, it just seems she had the same emotional state always, and it never changed. It didn't look like there was concern or she was upset about anything, or there was worry or anything like that. Now, again, this is just what's on film. We don't know what happens off camera. Maybe she played it up for the camera. Maybe she's nervous on camera. I don't know. I'm not drawing any conclusions on whether she did it or not, or whether, somebody in South America did it or not. This is just what we're seeing on the documentary. I found it really interesting.
I feel like he got offed by one of his business associates in Costa Rica.
I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
Just based on the information that was provided through the witnesses and through his associates, it feels like that's more of a possibility being fed to the tigers.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's just I found this season to be.
And let's face it, he'd be 83 now,
right?
Yeah. If he were alive. So
I think I found this season to be more informative.
Yes,
I think the other season was just like a hot mess. It was just like I don't even know how to explain it. As it was intended
to be,
right? I don't even know how to explain it. It was just like, I don't know anybody like that. I've never seen anybody like these, characters that are down there. So I'm not sure how to take it. If I came across that, I would just be like, okay. I'd be nice to them, but again, I don't understand them. So that was a really, really good series. Again, season 2. I believe that they're going to have a season 3 if Joe Exotic ends up getting out of jail. They're going to start a whole another season on that, which will be hilarious when he gets out of jail, because it's just going to be based on him and him alone, and then him. Yeah. I don't want nothing more to do with this and whatever it is, but I think it is going to be hilarious.
He's got nothing left now.
Yeah.
Well, and the best part is his husband has never come to visit him since he's been in jail. He's been in jail almost 3 years, and apparently he has a boyfriend somewhere in like Indianapolis or something like that.
That he's never met, and it's in Indiana or something. Yeah.
Nothing short of dramatic.
I mean, if this is scripted, somebody wrote a pretty good script on this and found the perfect characters to play it, because these characters, there's a lot of shadiness going on in there. Yeah. There's a lot of backstabbing. Perfect.
The good news out of all of it is that the cats are no longer at the zoo, and they're at a lovely sanctuary where they actually have room and acreage to run.
Right. And I think that was like the main
thing of the series.
The main thing of the series is, that you wanted to see that these cats weren't mistreated, or any of these animals that they had. There is a new character that they brought in, Tim Stark, I believe his name was. And man, this guy is just a piece of work. He's, just, bites the hand of authority, doesn't listen to what a court order does, tells them to get off his property, threatens to,
there's so much heartbreak with this guy too. His treatment of animals is enough to make you want to jump through the screen and punch him.
And he's like, no one's coming to take my animals, and if they do, I'll shoot them in the head. Like, I'll shoot the animals in the head before anyone takes my animals. And
called the judge, and the judge is like, "Follow over, nothing left to say to you." I'm surprised the judge even answered the phone.
Yeah. So I mean, it's an entertaining series, but I think the season 2 was much more informative, much more interesting in terms of,
felt a little bit more like a documentary.
Yeah, knowing what's going on now, like some of the stories that we didn't hear about in the first season, and why he's in jail and what happened and who was behind this and that and whatever. So now the stories come out in this documentary, and I actually enjoyed it. I'm not going to give it a rating because it's trash.
No rating? Come on, where's your 3.5?
There's no way. We'll give the 3.5. All right, we'll give it a 3.5, just to keep with the theme, just to make you happy here. But yeah, again, go watch this series. I still do recommend watching it. I'm not giving it a rating, but go and watch it. I recommend it. Yeah. Okay. Do you have anything?
T-shirt now that just has 3.5 stars on it.
Done. All right. So is there anything else that you want to comment on any of these series that we had reviewed?
No, I can't say I have a favorite out of all of these. I mean, out of all of them, let's face it, Tiger King was probably the most entertaining just because it's the Tiger King and it's such a phenomenon that they've had. I will say all are worth watching. I mean, clearly you've seen our point of view. If you like the story building and you like the character building, then you will enjoy these.
Well, from part one, the episodes, again, I didn't recommend or not recommend the shows. I do recommend in this one, I do recommend the ones that we did review. I mean, you know, the flight attendant, Good Girls, Clickbait. Again,
we'll just apologize for Clickbait because
series finale, notwithstanding, is, you know,
a good show.
All these shows were really good.
Listen, reach out and tell us what your thoughts on the Clickbait ending are.
Yes,
I'm curious to know if we're the only ones that feel this way, or if this is like a thing. Like if everybody else feels as strongly as we do that ending wrecked the whole show.
Yeah, and of course, yeah.
So that last episode.
Reach out to me on Instagram at PodJerky. You can message me. You can leave comments on our podcast page as well, or on our website. Yeah. So I mean, yeah. So this is going to do, I guess, going to be the end of our 2-part series for the shows that we have watched. Hopefully in the new year, we'll have some newer shows that we have watched and we can do a couple of reviews on those. They're always fun to do because these are just based on our opinions and not based on anything else other than that, because you know what? Everyone enjoys things a little bit differently. Everybody looks at shows a little bit differently. Everybody, you know, dives deeper into certain things. You think about things differently than I do. So this is my opinion. This is your opinion. You're all entitled to your opinion. But do reach out to us on social media. Let us know what you thought about the shows that we did a review on. Let us know
if you have recommendations.
Yeah, or if you have any recommendations.
Should watch, because we're always open to a good binge.
We are, yes. So that is going to do it for this episode. Thank you for tuning into the 2-part little mini series that we had. We don't have a finale here for you guys to rate. You can rate it a 3.5 if you want, seeing that this is the
no 5 stars for us.
We want 5 stars. We want 5 stars. Right. So as always, you can find us on Instagram and Twitter at PodJerky. You can find all of our links at Linktree. That's linktr.ee/PodJerky. And as always, stay safe, be kind to each other, and we will see you later.